Good afternoon, and welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to our All the Mods server play series. So, since last episode, I have been fairly busy. You notice the base is starting to kind of build out and expand. Of course, we still got another layer to add on top of most of these areas. And a lot of just detail work and chisels and bits, and just a whole lot of just little odd and end things. But anyway, of course, today we're going to be starting with our ore processing, and I did go ahead and start recording some earlier, and honestly, doing all the fluid setup and stuff, I ended up spending like 40 minutes, and I was like, okay, there's no way I can. It was just a mess. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to quickly cover the fluid, the fluid processing and all that setup, because I've done it before, and of course, if you guys have any questions or anything, I can always release just a separate tutorial, but I will cover it, fairly detailed. And then we'll actually get into the setup, because otherwise we're already going to need at least 2 episodes for this whole setup and everything. But over here, I've actually got a tree farm set up. Originally, I did it with progressive automation with the chopper here. I had the diamond. You have to kind of work your way up from wood to stone to iron to diamond and so on. But it was, for one, it was too slow. The only way you could really get it to a reasonable speed was either feed it diamond pickaxes or set up something with TC tools and all that mess. And then in addition to it, it was just too expensive to even get any kind of area. So like, I want a big wood farm because we're going to be using a lot of it. And I had it plugged up with an RF engine, so it was using RF instead of coal. But even still, I mean, the area was just way too small. And it was like mega diamonds and iron and everything just to get like one additional block, and it wasn't worth it. So I just threw together a farming station, plugged that in, have it fed cobblestone axes just like our garden or our potato farms and stuff do. And yeah, this thing runs amazingly. Now originally it did actually crash the server, and the server was down for a bit, and so I lost I pretty much got kicked off the server, and I was down. The server was down for like 4 hours. Basically, the farming station didn't like the loamy dirt, so I had to actually go through and change everything to dirt and all of that. But after that, it's ran fine. So, but yeah, I've got a Noctatic in that, so we've got a 15 by 15 farm, and it's fairly cheap and runs super fast, so I love it. Over here, I went ahead and added stone axes into this crafter, and I've got a translocator set up, basically keeping 5 stone axes and 5 stone hoes in this ender chest at all times. And then I've got all the storage drawers now plugged up into our refined storage system. Basically, I've just got a external storage bus connected onto the drawer controller, and then I got some trim running up so that we have all of these drawers connected in, fairly easy. And then, actually that hemp, I'm going to have to add a void upgrade in a minute, I think, because we have a lot of hemp. We have, 102,000? So, yeah, a lot of it. But anyway, so we've got all that plugged up, and we're keeping good on wood. I've also got wood running through here to create charcoal, so that we've always got a bunch of charcoal in here, and you see that it's all inside the refined storage system, thanks to that drawer controller with the external storage. Over here, I did set up some storage drawers. I don't have these connected up into the refined storage system just yet. We will be getting that set up fairly soon. Because we're about to do a bunch of refined storage connection and everything once we get our ore processing setup done. And then over here, I have a villager just thrown in here. Eventually, I'll expand that and everything and make a legit setup, but basically just to generate some passive emeralds. It's not super fast, but it is, a little bit of gain on emeralds that way for emerald upgrades for all of our storage drawers. And then if we pop over here, we have a solar panels set up here, and we have our thermal evaporation tower. And if you take a look down there, it's the full height, the 18 high. It can be as small as 3 high, but I went ahead and went with 18 because we're building big. We're going to have multiples of these out here and have kind of like a little evaporation area. And you'll notice that we are keeping maximum heat. Of course, if you've messed with these before, you know that nighttime and rain are your major enemies because they're going to drop your temperature. But what I've done here is I've got the solar panels routing their power into our power system, and I set up one of these resistive heaters, and I noticed that the heat really wasn't getting as high as I expected it to. It really wasn't it wasn't even worth it, honestly. I'll probably end up taking it down long term because it just doesn't get hot enough. So what I did was I set up a fuel wood heater. This is the one I generally use, and I just have an exporter exporting charcoal that we're producing from the wood farm into that, and it is keeping this thing, regardless if it's raining, if it's nighttime, if it's day, it doesn't matter. It's always full heat. It's always producing maximum brine. So our brine production is very, very good right now. And if we go ahead and pop down here, basically I've got a the graphics like bugged on that. Like, it's giving it water, you just can't tell that it's giving it water. Like, it doesn't look like it's connecting, but it is connecting. So but anyway, you'll see here we have a mining upgrade and then 20 speed upgrades. I only have the one transfer node plugged in right now. We may add more, but I just haven't got to see this thing run at maximum speed, you know, maximum like ore processing going and everything. So I'll kind of look at it and play with it and see, you know, moving forward, how many of those transfer nodes that we're actually going to need for that. So anyway, if we pop over here, this is where I've started setting up the fluid setup, because basically this room is going to be fluid. It's all going to be fluid setup, and then the other room where we're going to be working today is going to be the actual processing room. So like basically this room is going to make all of our hydrogen, our oxygen, our sulfur, our sulfuric acid, and also our hydrogen chloride as well. So we'll be, you know, dealing with all of that. And also, by the way, there's this gauge dropper. If your fluids get inside of the mechanism machines, which will it will happen, honestly, when you're setting this up, chances are, when you're trying to mess with the machines and everything, you can take this dropper and you can put it in here and click on the fluid and then put it in here, and it will drain the fluid back out of the gauge dropper. So you can move your fluids around the machines and stuff and kind of clear it out a little bit without wasting your fluid. Because that's one reason it took a while, because that's one reason I just cut this out and I just figured we'd go over it, because I was, you know, setting machines and rotating them and all that stuff. But anyway, I have an export bus connected to this drawer, and it's exporting gunpowder from our cobble gen just into here. And then and basically that gunpowder is going to be used to create our sulfur, because I don't have a blaze set up. Basically the spawners, when you break them, you get spawner shards on here instead of actually broken spawners. So eventually we may set up a blaze spawner to generate our sulfur, but for now we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way. But anyway, I have a yellow ender tank with a diamond connected over to the brine system, and basically we're pulling in brine and breaking it down into sodium and chlorine. And the sodium we're just dumping because sodium has no real use at all in mechanism, so we're just dumping the excess of that because we don't really need it for anything. Then the chlorine is going over here into this chemical infuser, and it is combining with hydrogen into hydrogen chloride. And of course we've covered how to make hydrogen before, and then that hydrogen chloride is going into the chemical injection chamber with the gunpowder, and that's creating this sulfur dust that's going into the storage drawer, you know, for kind of a buffer area. And then I've got water from this reservoir pumping into these electrolytic separators and creating our hydrogen and our oxygen. And for right now, I just have both sides set to dump excess. We have enough power right now. I'm not too concerned about running this constantly. Eventually we may make a separate setup over here for oxygen and another one for hydrogen, but chances are I'll probably just leave it like this, because I don't mind the use of power, you know, for the excess. I'm not too concerned about it. But anyway, that sulfur is then coming out of this storage drawer, and it's going into this chemical oxidizer, and that is oxidizing that and creating sulfur dioxide. And then that sulfur dioxide is going into this chemical infuser. It's combining the oxygen with the sulfur dioxide and making sulfur trioxide. And then that sulfur trioxide is coming through to a rotary condensator that's combining the sulfur trioxide and some water vapor. And the water vapor we're getting from a reservoir going into a rotary condensator set to deconcentrating. deconcentrating. Fuck it, I don't know. Anyway, it's breaking the water down into water vapor. Then that is going into that and creating that sulfuric acid that we're going to be using in a bit. So that's pretty much the setup. Of course, if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. Of course, we've covered that in other series and everything and all that. But anyway, right here we have a bunch of machines set to the side here, and that's what we're going to be setting up today. So basically, I want a separate room for the fluids and the gases and stuff, and then I want this other room set up for our actual processing. So that way we can kind of expand them and everything. So we're going to need the chemical washer, the chemical crystallizer, and the dissolution chamber. And let's go ahead and start setting these up. Now these three, or this room here, the one reason I want to do a whole room is we're going to be able to build out and keep expanding this so that, you know, if we end up plugging in more quarries or other people want to use this system or whatever, you know, they'll have, you know, the area to keep expanding and adding on and make it super, super fast. So let's see. Let's go ahead and do our power really, really quick. And I don't know why. I don't remember running this out here like this. Maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway. But we'll go ahead and run our power down to this zombie. And just like that. And then let's go ahead. Where's my shovel? Okay. And we'll just run our power down through here like this. And we'll go ahead and just plug this up right here for now. I may put it in the corner, but we'll see. And then I'm going to go ahead and break all this, and we'll run our power down through here. And I've been running, if you can't tell, I've been running a ton of cables since last episode. Getting our power grid kind of spread out around the base a little bit. Honestly, after this episode, I'm probably, or after the next episode, I'm doing 2 episodes today for you guys because we have a lot to cover. But let's go ahead and we'll put our rotary condensator down right here. And, let's see. Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, or not rotary condensator, or chemical dissolution chamber. But I'm probably going to be doing a lot of floor work because there's a lot of areas in the base that need floors and need facades and so on. So we'll be doing a bit of work with that. So this is going to take, it's going to need that sulfuric acid that we've created. So we're going to have to run some tubes down here, the advanced pressure tubes. Now you could honestly use basic pressure tubes if you so desired. I'm just going to use advanced. You really don't need like the elite or the ultimate because there's very few things from Mechanism, in my personal experience, that you need elite or ultimate pipes for, because this already transfers a massive amount of fluids. Like maybe once we get into reactors, we may use those a bit more, but for right now, we really don't need them, honestly. So we're just going to use advanced, just in case we expand it. Honestly, at this point, even advanced is pushing it. So, like, pushing it way over what we actually need. But we're going to go ahead and run it down underneath the floor here, because I don't really mind there being cables in these rooms, because it's unavoidable when you start messing with these Mechanism machines. It's going to happen. But I don't want them running through the hallways and stuff like that, So, but when you start messing with the Mechanism stuff, you just kind of have to realize that this is going to look like an ore processing room once it's done. So, there's really no way around that. Because these pipes, we're going to have to snake them around each other and all that stuff as well. So, alright. And, let's see, I need more pipes here. So let me grab some of these. And basic, we'll have to make some of these. Let's just make like a stack. And then we'll go ahead and upgrade that to advanced. It's fairly cheap, so might as well. And there we go, a stack of those. Honestly, this probably isn't going to be enough, realistically. It takes so many tubes when you start setting this stuff up. I already used a bunch of tubes in that area as well. But we are going to have to bring over 3 different tube lines into this room. once we're all done and everything. So let's go ahead and we'll get this plugged up. There we go. And you notice the pipes just went empty all of a sudden. That's because it transfers it so fast. We've already got all the sulfuric acid that was in the system already in that machine. So very fast transfer. Alright, so now that we've got that plugged up, let's see. See, the ultimate pressure tubes are just massive speed. You would not, there's no way you would need that much. No way at all. But let's go ahead and grab ourselves just a little bit of ore so that we can kind of watch the process as it moves down the line and everything. Now, I will say these first 3 machines, put them next to each other. Eventually, we'll have it spread out so that, if one smeltery, for example, is backed up, it can go to a different smeltery. But the first 3 machines here, the dissolution chamber, the washer, and the crystallizer, you want those back to back. Take it from my personal experience, because otherwise you end up with partial amounts in each of them, and your machines just get filled up with just junk, and it's a bit of a hassle. So you'll notice that gold ore now became a gold slurry. Basically ran that sulfuric acid over the ore and created that gold slurry for us. And let's go ahead and get ourselves a reservoir, because that washer, that chemical washer, is going to need water ran through the top of it in order to now wash that slurry down. So we're just going to use a reservoir, and let me grab a couple buckets here so we can get some water in that. And let's pop over here. Let's grab a little bit of water. And okay. There we go. And we'll set up, I think, our reservoir just right over here. Yeah. That'll be fine. Like I said, it's unavoidable that this room's going to look like a processing room. It's going to have water. It's going to have pipes. So I'm just going to accept it. So we'll go ahead and extract that and send it into the top of this chemical washer, and it's not getting water. Okay. Why you do this? Still not getting water. Okay, is it maybe because it doesn't have power? No, still not getting water. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's see. Let me see here. What's going on with this? It's because it almost looks like that reservoir is like really janky right now. It's kind of what it looks like to me. So I'm going to go ahead and set those pipes back in. Let's go get some buckets of water and get this fixed. For some reason the reservoir didn't multiply the water like it's supposed to. And still not working. Okay. Let's get some more water. What the fuck? Why you... Okay, cool. We got a leak. Alright. Let's get this put in now. Yeah, okay, now it's running. So it's getting water in there and it's cleaning that gold slurry. So it's becoming clean gold slurry. And now the next thing we're going to need is the crystallizer. So we'll go ahead and run our power out. And let's plug this in right here. And now it's getting that gold slurry and it's going to crystallize it and create crystals for us. So now we've got gold crystals. So basically it takes like 200 millibuckets of that clean gold slurry per crystal, and so each ore creates 1,000 millibuckets. So we're actually now getting 5 times. We actually have to go down the long process of turning those crystals into ingots. So there's actually a bit of work in between that point and where we're at the moment. So but anyway, like I said, you probably, if you want to expand this, run different lines of these, but always keep them back to back. In my personal opinion, that just works so much better. So just do it in lines, and then moving forward after this point, you can just kind of have your pipes all connecting to the different smelteries and the crushers and stuff like that, and you can kind of have them take whatever available slot you have. But just go ahead and set these up in just individual lines, and they work well enough. You can just do the lines right next to each other and just have multiples of these lines, because this is honestly the slowest part of the processing. This is usually where stuff will get hung up, is in that line. So I do suggest you make multiples of those, but you know, just make sure and keep them in the same group, I guess. So they're all like back to back. So the ore goes in, it comes out as crystals. It can't possibly leave in between those two steps. But anyway, I think we're going to start our first ore line, or our first processing line, in the center of the room, and then we'll start with our injecting factory. That's the first step, and this is going to actually require hydrogen, but you're going to need or the factories. The reason I'm using that, I'm just going to use advanced for now. Eventually we'll upgrade to elite factories. The basic factories have 3 different slots, so they can, say, smelt 3 different things at once. The advanced can do 5, and the elite can do 7. So honestly, especially with speed upgrades, the mechanism stuff is unbeatable, just because it can process so much at once at a fairly decent speed, especially with the speed upgrades and the energy upgrades and stuff. So I think I'm actually going to run these energy conduits through the item conduits through the floor, just because if we can cut down on some piping, you know, I don't mind doing so. And so we'll just do that. And okay, cool. So we've got that, and let's go ahead and set this to auto eject, and this to insert. Let's see. I think that's right. Maybe. Okay. Sometimes getting these all plugged up initially is kind of a pain. See, it's still not kicking that stuff out. And I know, let's see, input, yeah, still not pulling the stuff in. Why is that? Okay. Well, it's got energy. Sometimes it won't pull stuff in if it doesn't have energy. But, oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and try running our hydrogen chloride into this. So, because that may start pulling in the stuff then. But we're going to have to run a hydrogen chloride line into this, because this is going to need the hydrogen chloride to inject it into those crystals. So it's going to have to run from here. Let's go ahead and dig this down a little bit. And we'll start digging our passage. And I think, let's see, because we're going to have to cross over that other line, because we can't connect those two together, the sulfuric acid and the hydrogen chloride. So I don't know if we're going to go under it or above it. I don't know. I may end up going, I don't know. Let's see. We'll go over it for right now, I think, and then later on, I might go under it. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I'm going to wait till I get the room built out and figure out what I want to do there. Let's go ahead. Oh yeah, this has got to connect over to here. Whoops. Alright, so we've got hydrogen chloride, and we'll just run it down underneath the floor. Gotta love all the piping that we gotta run for this setup, especially being in a separate room like this, but I think it's going to pay off in the long run, honestly. You know, instead of just having a jumble of machines right in this one room, it'll kind of be a little bit more spread out. I think it'll look better and work out better for us, especially expanding it. Alright, so let's go ahead and just bring this up, and I think, let's see, plug this in. Yeah, the only thing about coming up from the underneath is we have power conduits ran right there. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll do some sorting and everything, and oh, whoops, shit. Okay, I hate breaking these things with the pickaxe. I know there's I think a mechanism wrench or something. I need to craft that because we've been doing so much mechanism stuff, but breaking these pipes without it is just an absolute pain. Oh, wrong fucking pipe. Cool. We don't need mechanical pipes. We need pressurized pipes. All right, and then we'll throw that on there. And now, okay, now it's pulling in. It's pulling in the shards and or the crystals, and it's going to create, I think shards are next, right? Yeah, gold shards with that hydrogen chloride. So next up, we're going to need our purification chamber, our purification factory. And we're just going to put this one out, you know, in front of this. And I think my measurements are all correct for the room, because I kind of want it just to run across the whole room. This is our ore processing room, so we're just going to have like a big line of machines. And we're going to need to actually run oxygen over. This is the last chemical line that we're going to have to run over for this setup, but we are going to have to run oxygen across the area here. So I think we're going to connect in just right over here. And let's pop on down here and dig this line out. And that's the main three chemicals that you're going to need. You're going to need sulfuric acid, you're going to need hydrogen chloride, and you're going to need oxygen. All three of those ran to this room. Other than that, you know, that's it. So, good stuff. That's why I decided we'd just go ahead and do a separate room, because, you know, both the setups are large, but if we can split them up like that, I think it's gonna look a bit better. And I may do some readjusting to this layout and everything once I start adding more machines, because I want to kind of make it kind of compact. I want to start compacting it once we start adding more processing lines and stuff, which we will have to do, because I plan to really get some major quarrying going here fairly soon. So, all right, let's get some more pipes, pressurized pipes. And let's see, there they are. And, oh, okay, I need to make some more basics. That's fine. These are fairly cheap, honestly. We'll just make another stack. We won't need a stack right now, but we will eventually, so I'm not too concerned about it. There we go. And let's go ahead and get this finished plugging up. We're almost there. We've got through all the hard parts already. And there we go. There's that. And honestly, the crafting part took forever. It takes a long time to craft all the stuff, especially like the tower and everything. It's just expensive. I think I went through like 400 steel or something like that making that, plus probably another stack. But anyway, let's set this to output, auto eject. Set this to, we're going to insert on the back side. And there we go. Set it to auto sort, and our gold shards are now getting purified with the oxygen. And this should create our gold clumps. And now next up, we're going to need to crush these clumps and create a dirty dust. So let's go ahead, plug that in, and now it's a lot easier from here on out. We just plug in power, plug in item conduits, and we're set. And so let's go ahead and set this to auto eject and set this to output on the front side. We'll go ahead and set this one to input on the back side. Auto sort on. Plug this in. Ka-chow. And extract. There we go. So that's going to start crushing up these gold clumps. And like I said, it's going to create a dirty gold dust. So let's go ahead and jump over here and get our enriching factory. And there's our dirty gold dust. And we'll just, once again, we'll just run power and set down our machine, our factory. And yeah, we've still got enough space. Cool. This is going to work out just right. I thought I measured it all right when I was originally planning, but it's been a little while since I drew out the sketches and stuff for this side of the base. So we'll go ahead and set this to auto eject and output out the front side. Then we're going to auto sort and input from the back. And now that's going to start enriching these dirty gold dusts, and if we give it just a second here, we'll get gold dust. Okay, from this point on, well, really this is just one other step, but you can smelt this with whatever you want to. You can use an alloy smelter if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with mechanism, use the advanced smelting factory. I like the mechanism smelters because they can hold so many items, and then once we throw speed upgrades and stuff in that, they're going to be really, really powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that, and we'll set it to auto sort on. Because basically what auto sort does is it's going to balance whatever it gets across all of its available slots, so it can smelt those a lot faster, you know. And let's go ahead and configure this like we've been doing, and configure this to input, and there we go. So now it's getting the gold dust. It's going to start smelting those, and you'll notice that our 4 ore that we originally threw in here has now, or will now, become 20 gold ingots. So we have quintupled that, you know, those 4 gold ores. Now, of course, we still have to get it all plugged into the refined storage system and all of that. So we will start on that. However, I did notice that this episode is running about wrapping up point right now, and so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Once again, I do apologize that I set all this stuff up off camera, but I hope I covered it in detail enough so that you guys can set it up. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. And if you want me to release just a tutorial video on the quintupling start to finish, I will do that. Because in creative mode, we could probably throw it together in 20 minutes. You know, it's just a little bit more time consuming in survival, of course. But I just wanted to set that up because, like I said, it took like 40 minutes of recording to set all this up, and I was like, there's no way. That's just a big hub-job mess. So, anyway, so we've got that all set up, and like I said, we'll be able to expand these rooms, especially being separate rooms like this. Now, this room will have another ore processing setup in it because there are some ores in this pack that can't be handled by the mechanism setup, at least as of right now. So we will set up an additional small little ore area, but it's just going to be ore doubling. It doesn't have the 5 times or anything like that. So we're going to try to get maximum output out of everything, and then we're going to plug everything up into our refined storage system, plug up a quarry, and let it go. It's going to be wonderful. Just because with the quintupling, you will get massive amounts of ingots from a quarry. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Especially if your processing system can keep up with the quarry, then you could just build your house out of gold blocks, you know. So it's definitely going to help. And plus, once we get the quarry running, we'll be getting a lot more alabaster. But anyway, I'm going to release another episode today, like I said, and we're going to start plugging everything up into our refined storage system. So I hope you guys join me for that. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already for more daily videos, and feel free to comment and let me know what you think, or if you need any help, feel free to ask. And until next episode, do take care.